Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, Dom Pedro, Old Course Villamora, but we're testing out these golf balls, the RB Tour and RB Tour X from Mizuno. Let's take them out on the golf course, let's give you some numbers and see how these balls perform. When I get on the golf course and I'm testing out golf balls, I'm just kind of looking for flight. I'm trying to hit one maybe a little bit lower, trying to see a normal swing, but also see what happens to that golf ball when I get it up in the air as well. Is there a difference in how they launch, how they kind of, not necessarily how they feel off the face, as I don't really necessarily feel much of a difference, especially with driver because you're hitting it so hard. How do they perform in the air? And that's really, really important. When you're looking for a golf ball with a driver, try and look at the flight rather than necessarily too much on the numbers, because they shouldn't really be a massive jump around it. But if we look at the RB Tour ball to get us going with, we've got 152 mile an hour off the club face on an average, launching at 13 degrees with a 2-2 spin, 2,271 on an average with a spin, which is actually pretty good. Peaking out at 32 yards height and carry an average of 264. But if we look at the numbers of the RB Tour X, 152 mile an hour off the club face, so pretty much the same, but launching at 11.8, so launching just a fraction lower off the face. Not seeing that when I hit those balls out there off the tee there. Spin though, 2,159, so actually my spin is a fraction lower than what I'm getting out of the RB Tour, which is not what it says on the box. 28 yards high on an average, but an average carry of 261. So I've just hit a couple of different shots coming into this green here with a 7-iron, and I'm just trying to get the sense of what's that ball launching like, how's it flighting in the air, what's it going to kind of perform like into wind or even downwind, you know, how are the spin numbers going to be affected by wind and things like that. So also, what does that golf ball do when it lands? But the most important thing that I'm starting to sense now is the feel. Couldn't feel it with a driver, but definitely getting the sense of more of a softer feel with that RB Tour, whereas the RB Tour X, definitely more of a clickier type of feel off the club face. Probably going to feel it a little bit more when I get into my wedge game, but certainly with a 7-iron, getting the sense of it, getting the acoustics of those golf balls. And if we start with the RB Tour 7-iron numbers, 118 mile an hour off the club face, launching at 20.3 on an average. I'm kind of liking to get my 7-iron more around sort of 19, but that's pretty much there or thereabouts. But look at the spin, 5,300 spin. That's actually really quite low. I would expect to get my spin numbers closer to 6,000, pushing to 6,500 with a 7-iron of the club that I use, peaking out 35 yards high with an average carry of 169. So actually, the numbers of the carry is about where I'm at with my new 7-iron in the bag. If we go to the RB Tour X, 118, exactly the same off the club face, launching a little lower, launching it at 17.7. Again, not kind of what I would expect. Spinning it at 5,500 revs, so what's that? We're getting a little bit more spin, a couple of hundred revs more out of that ball compared to the RB Tour, peaking out 31 yards high with an average carry of 169. So both of these golf balls just spinning a fraction lower than what I would look to get from the golf ball that I use. This is kind of like the ultimate test now. Durability, most important factor for lots of golfers, lots of people watching this, is how will this golf ball do over 1 round? How will it do over 2 rounds or even 3 rounds if you can hold on to it for that long? But what we're going to do now is we're going to do 10 shots with each ball out of this bunker, and we're just going to see how they both perform. Will it get shredded up? How's it going to look after these 10 shots with each? I'm impressed, got to say. There's one, on the RB Tour, there's one little nick there where I kind of caught it a little bit thin, and there's another one on here which I've now lost because I've just wiped it off, but there it is there. One when I've caught it just a little clean, so I've really nipped it off the top of the sand. But other than that, absolutely not another blemish on it. If we then look at the RB Tour X, I mean, there's nothing, and I've really nipped this one as well. So the durability, I would say, on both of these balls are pretty impressive, probably even more so with the RB Tour X. So for me, when it comes to actually coming around the greens and chipping and putting with these golf balls and testing, it's all about now feel. But when you look at the chipping side of it, you're going to start to get a sense of how does this ball react off the club face? How does it react when it lands? I'm not expecting any shocks with this. Like, I've seen golf balls in the past where they feel like they pop off the club face and maybe run out a little bit too much. Because we're using premium balls here, I'm expecting to see something pretty consistent off the club face. But what you do sometimes get is a ball that pops out a little bit lower, and then maybe one that pops out a little bit higher and just maybe reacts slightly differently on the green. And I think for what I'm feeling out of this Tour ball, it's definitely a softer sense off the face, and a golf ball that's kind of coming out nice and low and then just releasing out to the hole. Maybe one check at the beginning and then releasing out. Whereas when I'm now using the Tour X, I'm starting to sense, like I said on that 7-iron, a clickier kind of feel off the face, but the ball just seems to want to just pop a fraction higher using the same club, but still releasing out quite nicely. And then with putting, well, for me, it's all about feel off the face. Not going to get really a difference in necessarily how it pops off the face or how soft it is off the face. It's more about how it feels and also how it sounds to me when I hit that ball. And I've had balls in the past that I've used that have felt to me just too clicky, too hard off the face. For me, I probably want to get a sense of something that's maybe a little softer off the club face rather than firmer, and that is kind of each to their own on that. Each to their own as to what will feel right for you as an individual. Oh, I thought I was going to have all four there. But as I expected, very similar to what I was getting with the chipping, very similar to what I'm getting with the 7-iron, feeling that Tour X being a little bit clickier off the face, almost like the sense of what I would get, let's say, off a Pro V1X, whereas the Tour, the RB Tour, that's what I would get a sense from what I get from the Pro V, the ball that I use, which is certainly a lot softer off the feel. I think I prefer the Tour over the Tour X from that. So in summary, for me, Mizuno, I think, have made two very good golf balls here. I would question the spin levels when I got to my 7-iron. I'd like to see that maybe just up a little bit, but then there's lots of players out there that want to see the spin come down and get that ball to go out there as far as possible. Not seeing a great deal of difference in the numbers with my driver. Feel around the greens, kind of what I would expect. You know, I'm kind of comparing these to the Pro V1 and the Pro V1X, and they feel pretty much the same as what I would get from a Pro V1 and a Pro V1X. But I'd like to hear what you think. Durability on these balls, absolutely fantastic. Would you go out and buy these golf balls as an alternative for some of the others on the market? So don't forget, if you are new to our channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you all again very soon.